Hello and welcome to the TC Exchange podcast. I'm Amity Kraus, ex-retail girl turned realtor turned business owner, where I teach new transaction coordinators how to navigate the complex real estate industry and coach experienced TCs how to level up their game and businesses to add even more value to their agents. Come along with me while I guide you through this intense, complicated, but always fun world of transaction coordination. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to today's episode of the TC Exchange podcast. My name is Amity Kraus, and I am your host. I'm really excited about today's episode. We are going to be very timely in a couple of conversations that we're going to have today. We are going to be talking about the National Association of Realtors settlement. We are in the beginning of August right now, and the settlement effective date-ish is becoming effective on the 17th of this month, as we are still waiting for the actual settlement to be finalized, which will be happening sometime this September. So I wanted to have a conversation about the settlement and a little bit about what it means to transaction coordinators. I have invited a wonderful colleague of mine, Sam Hayes from One Stop TC. She is joining us today to talk about the NAR settlement. And I thought, because she is such an amazing educator, we would take some time and roll right into having a conversation about the continuing education options that are available for transaction coordinators. So you guys, I'm super excited for this episode. I hope that you enjoy it and get a ton out of it as well. And we're going to go ahead and get started. All right. Well, welcome, Sam. I am so excited that you're here today on our latest episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Guys, this is Sam Hayes from One Stop TC, and we are so excited to talk about the NAR settlement. If you can actually be excited to be talking about such a thing. So before we get started, let's just tell us a little bit about yourself and One Stop TC.
Sam Hayes, One Stop Transaction Services, One Stop TC. Been doing this over 2 decades. I'm certified in CAR for all the fun stuff, licensed realtor. My mom sucked me in, and here I am. I love forums. I love talking about this, and I just want to make sure I got tons of support so other people get the same amount.
I love it. I love it. So I know that you've been following along with this NAR settlement for probably a lot of time, a lot longer than a lot of people have had it even on their radar. I mean, this was started back in 2020, right?
It actually started in 2019. I was starting to get ready with Mary Jane Morris, who's another local here in Southern California. She and I were chatting about it, but then we had Miss Rona showed up and delayed things a wee bit. But we've been started being ready for the change on the forms and everything, probably spring 2020.
Okay, awesome. So could you kind of go over your understanding of like an overview of what the lawsuit is and what the settlement is?
So basically, from what all I'm understanding, and everybody verify with their legal broker of record, bottom line is there was concern that there was antitrust and steerage. Because with the situation of the MLS and only the agents having access, when there was shared cooperating compensation, that could be shown that, well, I'm not going to show this property because it's only this much, or I'm not going to tell my client this property. And being that we as realtors were the only ones with access to that, that's where there was concern for the steerage and antitrust, that all the different big brokerages, big names were saying, well, it's only this number that we're going to do in the industry, which we all know wasn't true. And actually, everything's always been negotiable. But from the outside, that's what happened. And it wasn't transparent enough, and we weren't communicating that enough.
Right. So one of the key issues related to the settlement is specifically about compensation, about how the listing agent is being paid, what the seller is paying, what the buyer maybe paying, and so on, right?
So the other issue with it is because when typically previously in the olden times, this is now becoming, when you would take a listing, you would get a lump sum commission amount, and part of that would be shared in cooperating compensation in the MLS. The concern was also that that is setting how much a buyer's agent is getting. So that's also another level of control, antitrust, and what's happening. Why they're switching to this model is a buyer's agent is representing the buyer. So the buyer should have control and connection and, transparency. The seller and the listing agent are working together. They should not have control over what impacts a buyer and a buyer's agent. Plus, there was also the issue of it was communicated by different individuals at different times that they worked for free if they were on the buyer side because the buyer wasn't paying for their fee. But as we know, that's definitely wrapped up in part of the sales price. So everybody's impacted by that
Yeah.
amount and that money.
Yeah. So in thinking about, the settlement specifically was that the compensation had to be removed from the MLS, right? Making it so that really we have to, as realtors, both the buyer and the listing side, they have to negotiate with each other on the compensation, or the seller and the buyer have to negotiate that piece, and it's not set anywhere.
Exactly. And it never really, I mean, it was set because of what was pre-negotiated in the listing and everything else. You could still always negotiate for your client if it was the best to have your offer presented. Say you'd reduce the commission that was there and everything else. The way to look at it now is we have 3 contracts, and we always really kind of have. Buyer brokers existed out in California for years. People just didn't really want to use it. So you have your agreement, the seller and the listing agent together make an agreement. They make a plan to sell the property. Then you have a buyer who's going to go out and work with an agent, and they make an agreement. So you've got your first 2 contracts. Then those hired experts, the listing agent and the buyer's agent, will now come together to negotiate for the highest and best for their clients on the purchase agreement.
I really like thinking about it that way, because it is that simple. And as I've been doing my own research, and guiding my agents and connecting with brokers and so on, it is becoming more and more clear. The more that I learn about this, the more simple it really is. It is not as scary and complex, other than it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's always scary when you're being told how you've been paid and something you've had to do in your day-to-day life and guarantees that seem are gone. But they're really not. You still are going to be providing the same level of service and value you've always provided to your clients. You're getting an opportunity to really connect with them prior to going under contract. And honestly, you're not wasting your time with people that may not be in a place to purchase at this time because of all the questions and vetting you should be doing with your buyer broker. I mean, you should have been doing it anyway, but now it's actually in writing and documented.
Right. Right. So now I don't necessarily feel like we need to get into the weeds about the actual requirements for the real estate agents. That's really going to be up to them and their brokers. But let's talk about, from a transaction coordination's perspective, if we're on the outside, what are some of the key things that a transaction coordinator needs to be looking for when this goes into effect August 17th?
Well, it's compliance. What is going to make sure that we have compliant files? I'm expecting to have more audits and everything else because of, if you step outside of this requirements of the settlement, you are now exposing you and your brokerage, you being an individual agent and your brokerage, to the possibility of lawsuit. The whole point of complying with this is that we stay inside the NAR bubble and that we all are playing along. So with that, you're going to want to look with whatever your brokerage directs you based on their agreements. Proof of that relationship. We need proof of that buyer and that buyer's agent are working together. And out here in California, we can give the last page of the agreement that covers everything. Rumor mill I've heard, I have not heard this directly, that there's some buyer contact information on there that can be redacted or left off. Bottom line is just that we have signatures and commission amount agreed to. If you're on the listing side, get that listing agreement as soon as possible. Make sure you're getting that documentation. Make sure if there is any concession wanting to be offered by that seller, that the broker has been brought in. Many brokerages are considering they're not even going to let that be part of their listings, because at this time they want the buyer's agents to bring offers and do the negotiation. They don't want to be pre-making decisions. We want to be open to conversation and open to negotiations, see what each offer brings itself. You're also going to want to make sure that if you are working with a client, and find out again from the broker of record you're working under, start your paper trail sooner. I know with the clients I work with, we start with the listing agreement, we get the disclosures going. As soon as you got a contract signed, we start a file. You're going to want to start doing that with your buyer broker agreements. You're going to treat them exactly the same, start building the comm logs and everything else. That isn't a contract, that is an agreement. We're now in involvement, and then you just merge it into whatever purchase agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I know that you are aware, and maybe you mentioned this, that there are some brokers that are some listing brokers that are saying we're not going to provide broker to broker compensation anymore. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Well, it's again circling back to that whole antitrust and making sure that we're not doing any steering. They want to make sure, as things are developing and more, there's a lot of the bigger legal involved with the bigger names that were named in the lawsuits. And as things are coming down, because a lot of this is going to keep changing, even though I'm going to get to your answer, but there's a reason I'm cul-de-sacking. So even though August 17th is a really important date with the NAR guidelines of the MLS is changing, that's not our final date. Everybody's so focused on that. The lawsuit has not been fully approved. The last court date for that is on November 26th. August 17th was the first day for the class actions. So that's why they chose that date to show that they were in compliance ahead of time. So with all that being said, what we're going to need to do, and why they're changing this, is that they are retracting. They want it to be a very direct line that if the seller is offering the concession that the buyer can utilize as a compensation commission to their agent, they want that to be very direct. It's not from the brokerage. That is a separate thing the seller has chosen to do on their transaction. And that's why everybody wants to make it very, very clear, because again, we don't want to be part of that antitrust steering.
Yeah. And I really like that aspect. When I heard about the first initial group of brokers that are saying we're not going to do this brokerage compensation, I had the initial reaction of like, oh, goodness gracious, where are we going with this? But then in thinking about it, now that it is encouraged for the buyer and the seller to be talking about this compensation, talking about concessions, how that's being sent, why does the listing broker need to distribute any other commissions or compensation or anything? It doesn't make any sense. And I have heard that the DOJ and MLSs and all of the people that are involved, it's going to the brokers that are still providing the broker co-broke, they're going to be exposing themselves to additional audits and some additional oversight, because that's not what we wanted, right? That's not what the purpose of this lawsuit was. So it's going to be interesting times for sure.
Well, and CRMLS, which is the basis for the majority of MLSs across the nation, has already come out with their fine schedule. And it's not even a notice. It's 2,500. And then 2,500, it's 2,500. I think it's 5,000. And then you don't get to play in the MLS anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not negotiable.
Time. It is big time. I've been seeing a number of the MLSs and their fine schedules, and it is for real. And then someone on one of it was on one of the communities that I'm in, posted a screenshot of a listing where someone got cute in their MLS description about the percentage being hidden in there. And it's like, you guys, FAFO, right?
100%.
This is not like, if you would like to be escorted out of this business, then go ahead. Go ahead. That's how you do it right there.
This is now, selfishly, as somebody who's done this for a long time, and I truly love this. This is my passion. I believe we get to help make dreams come true with everything we do. Selfishly, when I'm getting to see that people are doing this for ethical reasons and it's going to shake out, yes, it is scary. And yes, it is hard. And yes, there's a lot to learn. But for those that have been doing this just because it's fun or a quick little thing, or, oh, it doesn't matter, they're not going to get me. SDAR just hired, or partnered, I should say, with an AI company to go through every single listing, every single photo, every single thing nonstop. And we all know how AI can make mistakes. I don't want to be in an area where suddenly AI's mistake cost me $2,500.
Right.
It's not worth it.
No, it is not worth it. It's not worth it. Just be on the up and up, be clean. And at this moment, for me, my biggest takeaway about this is that nobody knows. We don't know.
Nope.
We don't know how it's going to work, how we're expecting this to work today as we're making our plans in our brokerage and we're trying to get ahead with our listing agreements and our revised compensation, direct to seller compensations and all of these new forms. We're doing our best to get ahead of it, but at the end of the day, we don't know. We don't know if this is going to work. There are other people that are not involved that are involved. Like, we don't know what the title companies are going to do and what they want to cover their butts. We don't know what the lenders are going to want and what they need in order to, underwrite the loans. All of these things we have to be ready to change, and we're going to be on that path probably for the next 3 months at least.
Oh, I agree with you completely. And it's a thing to remember when I know I've come up against this in transactions before, where they're like, well, it's okay for escrow. Escrow's okay with it. Well, escrow reports to the Department of Corporations, and title reports to the Department of Insurance, and we report to the Department of Real Estate. And guess what? They all don't have the same rules and regs and what they need to do. So we need to remember there's many pieces going here. It was about 2.5 weeks ago that the court approved for the DOJ to reopen their case against NAR. This can change any moment. NAR has sat in every single court date. NAR is watching every single, all those Facebook feeds, you don't think they don't have somebody in those groups or doing whatever? Be smart. Make sure you are not talking numbers at all in any of those chats. They are definitely going to be busting people. They've already brought it up. It's already come up in different discussions. It's already come up in some of the court things and when the lawyers are doing the final negotiations right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I guess the thing for TCs to be aware of is we're looking for compliance, right? So compliance things, we want to make sure that clear buyer brokerage agreements are completed prior to going under contract on a property. Do we expect that TCs are going to know how many properties were shown before the buyer brokerage? Probably not, but let's at least, that's the agent's problem and their broker problem, right?
100%.
Compliance from the legal standpoint, the paperwork standpoint. If you've got an executed contract, let's make sure we've got an executed buyer broker that was done prior to you going under contract, right? Commission has to be spelled out.
Yes.
It's not a range, it's a specific. And we need to know, is the seller providing a concession? Is the buyer paying it? Or is the buyer's agent authorized to negotiate that separately with the seller themselves, right? Those are the three pieces. What
Those
other things are important?
Well, those are the three so far. I'm waiting to see if there's any lender stuff that may come out of this. They may have to figure it out. I'm open to that. I have not seen anything official, but let's be real. They want to keep deals going, so they're going to do whatever they can that's compliant. I think the other thing to remember is this is a really amazing time to connect with your brokers and be of value as TCs. I know there's two trains of thought going right now. Oh my God, the sky is falling. There's no business. How am I going to keep going? Or this is an opportunity that is never going to come again. This is an opportunity. I know as an individual, as a TC, I have fought for years to prove how valuable we are and what knowledge and skills we bring to the transaction. Because there's so many pieces to a real estate transaction, expecting an agent and everybody to remember everything. Now's your chance. Why aren't you connecting with your broker and going, hey, can I come in and talk to you guys about this? Hey, what's going to be our process? How do you want to document this? How can I help? What can we do? Brainstorm with them. They don't know either. Everybody's a deer in the headlights right now.
Yeah.
But if you're coming from it from an administrative point of view, where you can see the holes because that's why we're hired, they're not going to be thinking in the same terms we are. You may save some people a lot of money by being smart and coming up with helping them to brainstorm how they want to make the policies go forward.
Yeah, I love that. And you're absolutely right. I think that's one of it's thinking like that also separates transaction coordinators from the pack, right? Like the ones that are thinking, I have value to add here. Let me connect with the people that have the power to make those decisions and not just sit back and wait to be told what to do. Because if we're just waiting to be told what to do, then why are we working for ourselves?
100%.
we've have a voice here and something to say and value to add, and that means that we get to use it. So connect with those brokers and have those conversations. I love that.
Well, and one other thing to remember, there is an expected, I believe, million plus attrition. At least 30% of the entire industry is supposed to be gone within the next 12 months because this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
That is going to limit where there is a need for TCs. At the same time, that is going to expand a need for an educated, knowledgeable, totally savvy TC. You got to decide which one you want to be.
Yep. I agree. And the getting the knowledge that kind of actually that rolls us right into another topic. And because I feel like we're good on the NAR stuff. Are
Yeah.
we? Is there any other key points?
I mean, without going into my weeds of files and all the nerd stuff of California, make people's brains explode. No, I think we're good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it being, it being like, this is the way it's been,
100%.
So here's a valid question, valid point. There are many independent transaction coordinators that are out there. It's a growing industry. Both of you and I, you've been around for 20 years. I've been around for 5 years. It's very different now than it was even 5 years ago, or even 2, 3 years ago,
100%.
with transaction coordinators. And I love that for us. We have a lot of independent transaction coordinators, and we have a lot of transaction coordinators who are independent and also unlicensed. Personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with being unlicensed. I personally am licensed in several of the states that I work in, but there are states that I'm not licensed in. Talk to me about, as an independent transaction coordinator who is unlicensed, what and where can that person go to get education and learn about what's going on in the industry and get that knowledge so that they can share it?
Well, there's a couple of steps. I'm a fan of being licensed personally because if I'm going to go toe to toe with somebody, I want to show that I did the same thing. I also respect there are reasons to not be licensed, and that's an individual choice. One of the benefits of being licensed is some of the discounts for the education, but everybody has access to a lot of these things. A lot of the associations, NAR, CAR, the classes are open to everyone. You can take them. They may be at a different price point, but you can go into your associations. They are open. NAR's got their whole list. If you go online, CAR does as well. I'm a big fan of YouTube. I won't lie. I'm a YouTube University fan. I have learned so much. I spent most of, I started during the pandemic, as I call it, and been working through where I have learned so much more about the industry, staying up on things that I didn't think were important to me as a TC before. And I was trying to come up with any reason to stay in front of my clients while things were a little unique, let's just say.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits of that is going in and making sure that you're learning from knowledge vetted professionals in your specific state, because as we know, things differ from state to even county to city. And then we have the overall umbrella. So you've got to go through your layers of what works. I also would find out if you've got a local group. You and I are both on multiple nationwide TC groups. I've had one that started here in San Diego and became nationwide TC group. That's I've got it reactivated now just because of what all's going on. But find a group of TCs that are local with you, share knowledge. Make sure, don't, as I always tell everybody, no brokerage names, no client names, no nothing. But so we don't cross into that antitrust, getting into that area. But there's general topics you can share and updates and everything else. Also find out, when do your specific state local forms update? Stay on top of that. Go to your brokerages. If they offer classes at the brokerages you work with, offer to teach a class. If you can teach it, typically you know it. So I'm a big fan of that as well. But I think there's many more options than people think are available. They may be a different price point because of, again, membership and all that benefits, but there's so much out there.
Yeah.
And NAR right now, you can just follow what they're telling consumers on all the free, on the websites. Even that's going to help give you some insight to what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I love is affiliate membership with some of your MLSs. If you can create that, there's a world of opportunity that comes in from that, not only from continuing education, but just marketing opportunities. With an affiliate members, I think are great. And going to classes, getting to the brokers, just finding all of those resources. I love I love creating community. I know that you have a you've had a great community in San Diego that went went outside of that, nationwide, and it's wonderful. And I've told this story a couple of times. I was working in Tennessee, and the Tennessee market and the Smoky Mountains in particular is it's kind of insular. We don't know a lot of people, and it's a very, very tiny, like I think there's only like 600 agents in that MLS. And everybody knows each other and everybody works with each other. And I was talking to a TC out there that I worked with frequently, and I said, hey, go check out this Facebook group, and it's just for your own knowledge, just from your own stuff. And she texts me back and she's like, Amity, did you know there's all these people out there that do what we do? And I'm like, I still get, when I tell that story, I still get chills, because there is. And we are insulated in so many ways because we're remote most of the time. We're working from home, or we're working at a brokerage, and we're just in our office, and we know our agents. There's such a big world, and there's so many people that are fantastic. So get in the groups, communicate that way, create a meetup in your town. I love that. That's just, it's so important.
Well, how we all started was same thing. I mean, this is back in the dark ages, when we were on email chains and Facebook was just starting, but I realized, because I'm a party girl, I won't lie. So I definitely was like, we need a cocktail hour. And that's how we ended up, where I just started saving emails of different TCs on different files that I was working on. And we have out in San Diego, Cesar Chavez Day is a county recorder closed holiday, which is very random. So that's how I came up with TC Appreciation Day out here that we created. And that's where the group kind of grew from that. So
Yeah.
yes, community is very important. In-person connection is very important. We used to do, and a lot of it fell off after COVID, but it needs to get started again. We used to do monthly breakfasts and going and just talking. And sometimes you just need to know somebody else understands what you're doing and what you're going through. It really
Yes.
helps.
Yes, it definitely does. Definitely does. Well, I love, thank you so much for coming on and all of the insights that you shared. I think that it's important to have these conversations. Transaction coordinators, we may not be directly involved in some of the nuances that are coming with the NAR settlement. But our knowledge and having that power is going to be a big help in how we support our clients and our brokerages. And then knowing where to get information ourselves to keep us informed, to keep us growing is so great. So the conversation about continuing education is amazing. So Sam, tell me how we can find you. Anybody that has questions, what you have going on in your business, tell us the thing.
Basically, here you go is all the things. I have a YouTube channel and a Facebook group. Everything is under at One Stop TC on all the platforms, LinkedIn and everything else. I do my best just to go ahead and educate and share knowledge as soon as I get it, because if I can teach it, that means it's going to stick in my brain, and I'd rather somebody got help. Quick backstory is I was lucky enough, my mom sucked me in, and up until she decided to join the cloud party this year, I have had my own mentor that was on call 24/7. So I think the best way I can honor her is to provide that kind of service for other people.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, do you have anything else that you want to share with us?
I think honestly, the best thing I can tell you is right now, lean into the moment. And I know that's such a cliche phrase, but truly, this is a moment that if you look at the service and value you can bring and what we can take off of our very stressed out clients, the brokers, the agents, even your lenders, your title, your escrow, help them understand the little pieces. If you learn a bit of knowledge, circle the wagons, share that. You are going to become a resource that they're going to know to go to, and that's going to help build team and support. We're all here for the same goals. We want to have happy customers. And while the buyer and seller may not be my direct client, my agent is. And the more I can help support them, the better off they can keep going. And I'm a big believer in abundance. And what is it? Zig Ziglar's, if you ever want to achieve your own goals, help somebody achieve theirs. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing so freely with us. And you are amazing. And I'm glad that we finally got the opportunity to connect after all of this time. And I'm grateful to have you involved in this.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and call anytime.
All right. Sounds great.
Thanks.
All right, guys, what a great conversation that was with Sam. I really, really enjoyed it. She is a wealth of knowledge. I know we moved really fast, but this is the thing. When we talk about the NAR settlement, this is what I want you to remember. Your job is to help with compliance, right? So what you're looking at is you're looking at those documents, you're making sure that they're good to go. You're getting making sure that the agent is going to get paid, that the buyer and the seller know what they're doing and where their money is going, and you're helping resolve any issues that are still out there. So focus on the compliance piece. Don't get caught up in the noise and the drama and the sky is falling mentality with this. We're going to get through it and everything is going to be just fine. So stay patient and we'll get there. I also really loved having the conversation about continuing education. I think continuing education is so important, and I want those of us that are unlicensed in the state that we work in, I want you all to know that there are still resources for you. Get on your local MLSs, know who they are, become an affiliate member, figure out what brokers your agents belong to, find out how you can participate in their classes. Yes, there may be some additional fees for you to attend as a non-member, but those are business write-offs, my friend. So please make sure that you are pursuing all avenues of education so that you can be a resource for your agents and their brokers, especially in crazy times like this. Now, the last thing that I want to mention, I am so excited for this, you guys. I have started a group mastermind. I'm very, very thrilled about it. There's going to be some more information that's coming out in the next couple of days. We will be meeting twice a month. And for about just over an hour each time. It will be a mastermind, around 6 people or so each meeting, and it will be an opportunity for collaboration, education, connection, and some wonderful ways to communicate with fellow TCs that are in the same boat. If you are interested in learning more about the TC Exchange Mastermind Group, please send me a DM, reach out to me via email or through the True North Transaction Services website. I am grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for taking a listen today. And I can't wait to talk to you again, same time, same place next week. And that wraps up another episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this incredible journey through the world of transaction coordination. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and together, we're setting the compass to true north. If you want to dive deeper into the world of TCs or simply connect with our growing community, follow us on Instagram at TrueNorthTCT. For exclusive content, insights, and engaging discussions, be sure to join our Facebook group, the TC Exchange. And for resources, courses, and a treasure trove of knowledge, check out our website at TrueNorthTransactionServices.com. Keep the conversations going, share your insights, and until next time, keep your compass pointing true north. See you soon. And that wraps up another episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this incredible journey through the world of transaction coordination. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and together, we're setting the compass to true north. If you want to dive deeper into the world of TCs or simply connect with our growing community, follow us on Instagram at True North TCT. For exclusive content, insights, and engaging discussions, be sure to join our Facebook group, the TC Exchange. And for resources, courses, and a treasure trove of knowledge, check out our website at truenorthtransactionservices.com. Keep the conversations going, share your insights, and until next time, keep your compass pointing true north. See you soon.